I've actually really enjoyed watching how these top laners sub in and out in Rest and Driver for CFO, and I want to see how that's going to be utilized against the most stable factor on this team, and that is 369. I know it's so funny because he was known as Captain Inconsistent, the 3s, the 6s, and the 9s, but I don't think he has been the one that's been copping a lot of criticism here in this tournament.
I think Rest's best champion has been his Rumble, so I'm not surprised to see that one taken away. We have seen every team ban JunJia's Zyra against him. He's 4-0 on it domestically. We'll see if TES will be the first team not to do that here on red side against him. Could open up something else like the Kalista ban that we'd expect to see here on this red side draft. The Varus is taken away, and they'll actually also ban the Kalista themselves on blue side. Even though Kalista's win rate has been pretty abysmal so far this tournament, I do think if drafted around it, it can be quite successful. I thought perhaps with that Varus ban, they were hoping they were going to get a favorable matchup there, but maybe they're fishing for something else here. Yeah,
and you could have theoretically gone for a Draven ban there as well if you were thinking that a Kalista could be first picked in this draft, but it seems like they do have a different idea for what's going to be coming out first. hongQ going to have his Azir taken away, a champion that he has looked pretty formidable on so far this tournament. So not going to have that, but still plenty in the bank when it comes to mid laners. That's the only one that's really been attacked thus far in Rest. What is it going to be? Is it just going to be Cassante? Judy could lock that one away if he would like to.
Yeah, he has kind of gone to less execution-based champions, I'd say, overall than we've seen from Driver. So if they do want to lock in something here that's very safe to blind and react on blue side here, they certainly could go for that pick. I think the 80 carry pick feels the safest, though, because you've already got the Varus and Kalista gone. Ezreal stocks go way up in that situation because he's going to struggle into those lanes, and even in the mid lane will often struggle into a Varus. So a pretty safe Ezreal lock here to start this one off. We know how much JackeyLove loves this pick as well. Ashe may be the response, and they may still try to punish this in the 2v2. We'll see what the go button is going to be here for TES, though, as they'll take the Nidalee for Kanavi. Kanavi has, I think, been, unfortunately, the weakest performing and most inconsistent member of TES thus far. So a lot of weight on his shoulders here with this pick, especially when we don't yet know what the prio is going to look like.
And this is one that he's pretty famous for as well. I think that, like, if you want to really, like, claw your way back, this is certainly a way to do it. Kanavi, a lot of comfort on the Nidalee, but also a champion that can be extremely polarizing, as they do give him a little bit of setup here in the Leona for the bottom side of the map. Not showing your hand at all with these first two picks on top esports' side. But it does mean that CFO has pick of the litter when it comes to solo lanes. There is a Rumble and an Azir band away, as far as that is concerned. They've got so many options. It is going to be the Sejuani first, and then
Jayce
they can
made
pick, mid and a top laner if they would like to.
It's a great flexor and made it so deep into this draft. Can work decently well with the Sejuani. And there's a lot of setup here already to follow up on the Sejuani ult. You know, Ezreal and Jayce can follow up on that single target that gets caught, especially a squishy jungler like the Nidalee. Can fall prey to it if trying to be aggressive around objectives. They take the Leona, I think, more as a denial pick here, and they'll actually grab Yone as well. Feels like this draft doesn't have a ton of synergy in it just yet, but it has some elements of dive. Yone does work well as an AD mid laner with the Nidalee in terms of damage profiles here. But I think there's a lot of unknowns yet in this draft because we don't know where the Jayce is going. The Yone is still technically a flex as well for TES, but their comp doesn't have a consistent theme as of yet.
Yeah, not quite. I was thinking that maybe they'd be going for a little bit more of the dive style of composition. Of course, Nidalee does allow you to play a little bit more poke and things like that. But I imagine Kai'Sa is definitely going to be banned now. So Braum going to be taken away first, just to deny the Freljordian combo alongside Bristle and Sejuani. But let's see what's going to be banned here. First, it's going to be the Ashe.
Yeah, they can take the Ashe and the Kai'Sa and force JackeyLove onto something completely different here. And things get a little bit trickier. Something like a Cassante could change the theme of this draft for TES completely, though. If they ended up locking that in, they could play like a Zeri here in this composition. Doesn't have a lot of synergy with Leona, but again, that was chosen for the most part here in this draft as a denial pick, as Kaiwing has relied on this pick so much with the Ezreal in this tournament. I think it's an obvious Kai'Sa ban here. CFO thinking about something else, though, or perhaps just trying to use some extra time. But it does feel like it's a pretty easy pick, but they take the Misfortune instead. Does have some synergy with the Leona setup, obviously, the Yone as well. But the Kai'Sa does really start to allow TES to now turn this into a dive comp.
Yeah, it does feel like commitment. That being said, the Taliyah is up and available. hongQ's already had a couple of games on the champion who's looked pretty good. Jhin going to be locked down instead, so this is far more about let's sit back, get that poke happening, and allow some setup around these objectives. I think that does make some sense. You can really litter the ground as well with these captive audiences and the traps from the Nidalee as well. So Doggo, let's see what he's going to lock in. I think the Taliyah still makes a whole lot of sense, especially into the Yone in the mid lane. And now, where is Kaiwing going? Generally, this guy is let's play engage, no matter what. He does. We'll see what he does do.
He likes his Alistar, and he is just going to take it here once again. So not a surprise. Can be quite strong into Leona. And it's not a lane matchup where you're going to get punished too hard for picking the Alistar. It's not a strong pushing lane early. And the K'Sante I mentioned here is going to come through. I think K'Sante pairs really well with the Jhin because you already have some elements of dive, right? You have the Yone, you could set up the Nidalee that way. If you have a Leona and a K'Sante, the Jhin has free reign to set up long-range damage, set up long-range CC, as well as just zone with his ultimate. I love when Jhin is paired with a strong, aggressive comp that wants to go in, but also has a robust front line because it means he has so much agency. So
yeah,
in terms of what this Jhin does here, I really like the pick. There have been some other Jhins I haven't been as sold on here in 2025, but this one definitely fits the bill. I think CFO's comp is so much more well-rounded, though. They have the Ezreal that's super mobile, so difficult to lock down. They have the Jayce for poke. They have the Ezreal poke. They have the Taliyah ability to rotate around the map. I think if CFO can get through the early game and Ezreal hits his 2-item spike, if TES can't actually find objective control before then, they might just get out-rotated.
Yeah, and I think having a 3-threat comp for CFO is so incredibly important. We saw in some of their best games so far this tournament, it's been about having multiple threats, because they can tend to fall apart if a single member of their, so if they have a duo, say, of damage dealers, if one of those members is targeted, they can just kind of fall apart. But it seems like they play around these triple threat comps really effectively. And the same can kind of be said on the other side for top esports. If Kanavi has a good game, I think if this Nidalee doesn't get off the ground, it can look like a disaster for CFO, but this is Kanavi. This guy is really, really good at this champion. And even though a lot of people have been criticizing him a lot here this tournament, he is still absolutely deadly when he gets that into his hands. So we'll have to just see how it goes. Here we are on the Rift for game number 1.
All right.
I do love it when we get the fan chants, but it's not the Korean teams, so you don't have the same level of coordination of the fan chant leaders and stuff like that, as hongQ already has to flash away. Crisp trying to get in there, and there is the route. hongQ's going to be going down. First blood here extraordinarily early, and it goes to Kanavi.
Yeah, this really couldn't be worse, to be honest. I mean, he ends up dying despite using his flash. The Leona flash, which is traded in exchange, is going to be replaced by a Hex flash, so it's only losing really, you know, half a summoner or 70% of a summoner, depending on how much you value Hex flash in terms of that exchange, but he still has some utility he can utilize, whereas now hongQ without flash is going to be vulnerable. Yeah. And that is a little bit rough. As you can see, in terms of the global power rankings here, TES coming into this tournament massively favored, but with current performances, it's a lot closer.
Yeah, and I actually think it's really interesting because I think a lot of people will be looking at those global power rankings as far as like, that was the expectation and probably still is. And especially after that first blood, it does allow you to move a little bit more towards the TES side of things. But coming into today, I actually kind of felt like CFO should be considered the team with the highest chance of winning because they've been doing more of it. So far this tournament, already locked in, as we know, a lot of that pressure now off their shoulders. So we'll see whether they can bounce back after that first blood and find themselves some advantages. But I was talking about the fact that, you know, Kanavi, it was really important for him to get ahead, and it's like that first blood already happened like sub 1 minute.
Yeah.
So, nicely done. Kaiwing now going to be taking a whole bunch of damage, but Doggo able to offer a bit back towards Crisp as well.
Yeah, Crisp got to be careful, of course, at level 2. Just on the way here, Kaiwing can knock him back away, and he can't use Hex Flash to get out of that one. So with the summoner advantage here, I like how Doggo and Kaiwing are putting the pressure on here. Nice weave of that Mystic shot there onto JackeyLove as well. Looks like he may even get an additional deep ward to spot where Kanavi is pathing. Love to see that. Really nice movement early here by the CFO bottom duo. hongQ, despite being down in flash, does have range advantage here. Taliyah can lane quite well into Creme, so it's not a big deal necessarily just yet. It's not that Creme got that first kill either.
Yep, and also, like, a lot of these very, very early kills don't actually impact what happens on the map, right? So sometimes you can get it and like it costs jungle camps, there's flow-on effects, you know, tempo advantages, things like that. If you just like kind of randomly die before anything's really started to happen, yes, it's more money that goes over to the opposing side, but you do sort of get that full reset. You can just start as if everything is kind of okay. So we'll see whether hongQ can bounce back as Creme taking a lot of damage here, trying to get in range for another threaded volley, but not going to have the opportunity to throw it out.
Carefully avoiding those rocks on the ground, and here comes Kanavi. Not 100% certain if he was seen on that ward or not. They actually have a ward in the river there as well, but he'll just put one in the tri-brush and leave. He is a Nidalee, so doesn't really have any CC to come in here and set up for a dive or anything like that. And it is, of course, Ezreal Alistar, so just going to try to now come over to the mid lane.
Yeah.
So try to get some additional information. Drops this ward down here. You look at the top lane. Oh, hold that thought.
There's a big flash forward from Kaiwing as they're trying to follow up. JackeyLove in so much trouble. Doggo just one more auto attack, and there it is. Could have been first blood. Unfortunately, it's the second one, but we've evened things out on that kill scoreboard, and Doggo feeling good in this lane.
And Kaiwing, it's such a comfort for him on this Alistar. He will take these risky plays. He finds these opportunities. And once again, this has kind of been a trend for JackeyLove and Crisp in this tournament as they draft these winning lanes. In this case, they're able to get a little bit of a push, but then end up getting punished, usually by the jungler, but this time by the support here. I was going to mention this before that action, is Rest is really putting the pressure onto 369 here in the top lane as well. Obviously having the advantage in the early game with this Jayce, but that's going according to plan. Now Doggo is accelerated. And watch this one more time here, as Kaiwing is, of course, not rooted. Chris comes forward. Kaiwing's like, you're in range for my combo, and that's all that there is to it. Like, JackeyLove can cleanse, but the damage has been done, and Doggo has the ball up there. Nothing Crisp can do in return to peel. Kanavi was nearby, so perhaps that's why they felt like they could be that far up, but just Kaiwing, simple as that, you know? Just the basic Alistar combo.
Yep, beautifully played. And 369 here taking a beating underneath the turret. The first plate does go over to Rest, as we could see there. And playing around winning lanes is working out here for CFO very, very well. And we've seen that they have been very good at translating this into just more victories around the map. They've been great at converting to objectives and things like this. And JunJia hasn't even really played too much of a part, and he is the catalyst for this team. So great to see that even just in basic laning, things are going okay for CFO. Having a look down the line when it comes to CS, things very even in the mid lane, top side with that big advantage like you were talking about. And the bottom lane, I think that Doggo kind of needed that with the amount of control that was sort of inherently there, and the fact that JackeyLove was doing quite well in farm, that is now all but evened up.
Yeah, it's going to be a dragon taken here by TES. And they had the prio for this one. The Nidalee is there. I don't think contesting this is realistic. Even though hongQ does have his ultimate, there's a Leona kind of standing guard, and getting over here is just not going to be possible. They had a control ward on the dragon, so they knew this was a realistic take. JunJia looking to trade the objectives, though, and they're going to look for more.
Yeah, Doggo knows what's up here. Going to be arcane shifting. It's not exactly the greatest ability for getting out of spears, because if it is like, if you're like split second reacting, you're still just going to take the damage, which can be a little bit sad. Wave going to crash towards his bottom side though, so CFO going to need to get back here. Thankfully there's a cannon, but still it's going to be plates going over to Jackie, as JunJia going to be able to grab all three of the grubs. So it is going to be a feat of strength on both sides. Or at least a third of one.
Yes, a third of one. A full objective taken on the grubs.
We are very, like, the gold is entirely even. Yeah. It's one kill apiece. It's one objective apiece. You can see it here, top left of your screen right now.
Well, if you're a big fan of early game explosive leads and snowballing games very quickly, I've got 3 tiers for you to cry with on this composition for CFO, because they are building 3 goddess tiers here because all of their players are looking to spike a little bit later on. The Ezreal and the Jayce in particular looking for that 2-item spike. And so, you know, it is going to be a slower going game, but I do think that TES haven't gotten enough of a lead here in this game. They're slightly behind on gold, in fact, and only Kanavi has a lead, which doesn't translate into, you know, snowballing games too well on the Nidalee. So it's not feeling great for them right now, as JunJia is up here on the top side, will zone away some farm here for JackeyLove, as well as give some additional plate gold. So even though JackeyLove got a plate, it will be returned here by Doggo as well, and perhaps even more as he grabs a second.
2 plates, actually a big deal, as this was sort of like the return play from CFO after that crash did come in. So the result is about 600 gold in the advantage for CFO. 369 moving up towards Rest here. Does have that acceleration gate, just looking to push out this wave so that he can choose to do whatever he would like. 369 not too happy about that, as you can see, just trying to annoy Rest as best he can.
They haven't really played through this top side too much. You know, it's just a single plate that went over. This is kind of a natural Jayce advantage. 300 gold feels really nice, but 369 can be happy to just sit on K'Sante and play a low eco game here. That's kind of the name of the game when you're playing K'Sante into Jayce. It's been all about the bottom lane. And that early dragon, we'll see how much that ends up being important here for top esports. The fact they have that stack advantage could come into play later on, especially depending on Seoul.
Yep.
It's been a relatively quiet game, though. I mean, it really has.
It did start off very chaotically, so maybe that's in the back of the minds of especially the CFO players, who did lose first blood in like a minute. And then after that, they've just played some cool, calm, and collected League of Legends, which is great to see. Some of these, especially a team with such a young mid laner, a lot of, you know, mid lane is often a catalyst to play around with hongQ there. Certainly could have a little bit of that young man energy, as Kaiwing could be in trouble. He is not the young man of the team. He's been around for a very long time.
Certainly has.
And ow. Spear's starting to hurt here. Yeah. We've got that burn urn and a mask. To quote my friend Wolf on that one.
I love the burn urn.
The burn urn is so good. It's one of my favorite names for an item that it's ever been.
It's just so satisfying because you just burn them and the damage number goes up. When the damage number goes up, the dopamine goes with it.
I think when rhymes happen, that's where my dopamine comes from. And, that's all I really needed.
They have prio on this objective.
Whoa, Kaiwing's going for it. He finds himself the pulverize. They've separated Chris. He doesn't have the aftershock anymore, and neither does he have his life. Is JunJia going to be able to grab that one? hongQ going to move out of the way of Creme here, who's just doing some investigating by the looks of things. Goes back to his soul, but I don't know about that one. And the ulti is picked up by JunJia. Will they be able to get the permafrost? The answer is no, because the flash comes through. They still get exactly what they want. That's triple flashes.
And if he wants to defend this bottom turret, he's going to have to teleport here. Otherwise, they could potentially look for more. But with potentially Kanavi being in the area, they hesitate for a moment. hongQ channels his back, but he is going to try for this plate. Once they see Kanavi, though, clearing this ward, they will back away. So it could have been even worse if he did have to, you know, expend his teleport there. But it's not going to end up mattering too much as Kanavi does come and bail them out to a certain extent here. Rest has been on these champions, by the way, where, you know, he kind of default wins the lane. Like, he's played the Rumble, he ended up playing Karma top. You know, it's the kind of champ where you should win, you should get an advantage, you are playing ranged. It's the kind of thing that top players who don't like to play ranged don't enjoy, but he's kind of doing everything by default what they need to be doing. And yeah, that hits hard.
What? Yeah, Doggo just took off most of the health bar of JackeyLove here. Kanavi having to use that Primal Surge to get that health back up to half.
It just feels like the one lane where no one's interacting really is where Jayce gets a natural advantage, and otherwise CFO are just playing the map better. They're everywhere. They're making plays all over the map.
Yeah.
And now they're looking to get even more. I mean, they already had the first 3 grubs unlocked, and they're looking for full 6.
Yeah, Seismic Shove looking real good. 369 not with a lot of the blue stuff, as you can see here. Kaiwing looking to make his way forward. Come on, man. Surely you're going to press that headbutt pulverize button. But they don't have any minions underneath this turret. Creme is pushing forward as it's Rest that moves on up. Not going to get knocked up just now. As, yeah, they will find 369 away from his turret now, which is unfortunate. The ulti goes wide. Great flash to come out from 369, but it's not going to save this turret. And CFO using the pressure to get more, even if the pick didn't actually work out.
Okay, let's see what Soul this is going to be, because it's 2 dragons to 6 grubs. And it is going to be Infernal Soul. So a high roll here for TES. This is really important because they ended up committing so much of the dragons, and we'll end up losing this turret, and maybe 369 as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. The headbutt does push him back. He's looking to try and get something done here. Permafrost is going to stop him in his tracks, though. There is so much CC. I don't think 369's going anywhere, even if he can ignore some of it. Never mind, though. The all-out just brings Kaiwing through the wall, but the cow, he's so sticky, and he just headbutts him into the wall. Finally, they managed to take down the K'Sante.
CFO are just running circles around top esports on the map as well. Rest here looking like he might just be able to get out.
Yeah, trap does come on through there as Kanavi looking to try and land the spear, but he doesn't do so. Rest still trying to get out, and I don't know about that solar flare.
Yeah, Rest doesn't even have to flash with that solar flare, and they're going to try to trade the turret, but it takes so long because they don't have any grubs. And the way they set up that top side play, they backed with Rest, put hongQ into the top lane, so they don't lose any experience, they don't lose any farm, they can commit to that top side play. Then he teleports down to defend bottom. They don't end up getting any damage to that turret. Sure, they get the dragon, but CFO have gotten so much more. For top esports now, you've got to play for dragon. That is your way out of this one.
Yep. I do think that now the focus does turn towards that dragon for CFO, as Deadly Flourish not going to find Doggo, who's playing very aggressively towards JackeyLove here. Trinity Force now completed into just the Collector done for Jackie. So Doggo feeling pretty good about the state of the game right now. Wants that 2-item spike, and when that comes in, it'll be even more terrifying, but this feels pretty good as far as the first item completion is concerned.
In terms of hitting skill shots on slow AD carries, Ezreal feels pretty good about just chucking those Mystic shots out of Jhin. This is not Doggo laning into a Varus. As, man, they're winning mid. They've got bottom side control here as well. TES coming up with nothing right now on the map.
These Void Mites, they are really getting to work here as one of the last plates does go down. Only one more remaining. Could be feats of strength on the cards as well, as both teams with a couple of stacks as far as objectives are concerned. But first turret will go over to the team with all the grubs. Does make a whole bunch of sense. And the plate money they've picked up as well is absurd.
Consider also as Creme, or Crisp rather.
Crisp is in a little bit of trouble. Of course, does have the Eclipse, but unfortunately, it's just not quite enough. Creme goes in, does find 2 with the ulti here, but he does have to get out. Now Kanavi, just denied by Kaiwing, and the curtains were called, but unfortunately it didn't really answer. As Jackie now looking to try and lock anyone down, but the Arctic Assault will get JunJia over that wall.
And they all get out scot-free. I mean, sure, some resources had to be used to get them out. I won't say it's free, but it's a good deal. And here's the plate gold you just mentioned, 1,000 the advantage here for CFO. Going back to this play here, Crisp seen on this ward, commits to the clear here, did have flash available, and unfortunately it's just too late to use it here as he is just in a bouncy castle.
Oh dear. This is one of the more killable Casantes I've seen thus far, as 369 is dead yet again. And hongQ and Rest, a lot of damage already, and that Black Cleaver rush from Rest as well, really helping take 369 down.
Well, he's like, if no one's going to come up here, and it's just going to be me against Cassante the whole time, I'd like to have somebody to carve through those resistances. And, you know, I mean, hongQ comes up and helps him out here. They will be able to get this inner turret. The gold lead is exploding here as we hit 15 minutes.
That's a big deal, man. It's over 4,000 gold now, the lead for CFO. And Kaiwing wanting to extend that, as I could feel it. This cow is ruthless.
Now, consider this, too, Atlas. With the Infernal Dragon as Seoul, it means that with a 2-Drake lead, that can be a bit of a double-edged sword, because every single dragon that CFO picks up now, they could stack potentially 3 of those those dragons in stats. So the adaptability they're going to pick up from it is kind of insane. And I don't think that 369 expected this, but you know, he's just so far behind in this game.
Yeah.
And it's not that, like, he's Cassante, but he's made a few decisions where I think he thinks Cassante is a little bit more broken than all of us, especially with that teleport he decided to go with topside, but he's just been having a rough one. But he hasn't been given any help. He hasn't been given any resources, and that's how Cassante is supposed to work. But as the game rolls away from you, I think there needs to be some more resources given to him as the map has fallen away.
Yeah, and the Unraveled Earth is just really difficult for a Cassante to deal with as well. Yeah, you can mitigate some CC, but you're sort of standing still when it happens. So if you then dash afterwards, it's just not feeling so great.
We took a look at that MasterCard lane economy snapshot just a moment ago. You can see Kanavi with a tiny lead. He was the one who picked up first blood, but he hasn't been able to make an impact on this map otherwise since level 1. And his lead's going to fall.
And since the MasterCard lane economy snapshot came up, he's actually fallen behind in gold. So it's everyone that has an advantage. Let's see whether TES can pull it back here as a potential fight breaking out. 5 against 4 right now, but Rest is going to make his way in as we start a siege into this mid lane. JackeyLove avoids at least part of the damage, but not all of it, as now the turret is taking a whole bunch here, and the range that you do have as Glacial Prison flies forward. I don't know about that one as far as the Seismic Shove is concerned, and the Solar Flare is going to connect. JunJia is so tanky though, as Kaiwing, he's gone completely off on his own. Crisp gets himself out of there, and the unbreakable will of this cow is actually going to work out. They pull the AD carry though, sorry, they pull Creme, and he is going to get taken out. hongQ falling. And now Doggo trying to offer some damage back, but TES just better team fighting.
Critically here, it allows him to get soul point on the dragon as Doggo flying too close to the sun.
Yeah, not quite working out. Arcane shifting over the wall, but you can follow if you are the Yone. So Creme able to lock him down, gets back to work on this Dragon as well, and he is now 1-0-2. And maybe a big way the top esports can get back into this game.
I'm not 100% sure about that one, Doggo. I mean, if he's able to maybe set up some sort of miracle steal there, it could be game-winning. Now, this is very greedy from CFO. Crisp gets caught, and the shove is a bit, it's a bit off. It's not placed well, so Crisp actually is totally fine here. And now CFO are vastly overextended in this fight. Because they're so ahead, it's very difficult for TES to win the ensuing fight. And I think TES definitely wanted more out of this overextension, but ultimately they'll take the big prize of getting that soul point. So now they're one Dragon away of a win con for them that really beefs up their late game.
Yeah, Doggo actually just walking back in after using his flash. So a little bit unfortunate. Wasn't going to be able to steal that one away, but sometimes you want to get opportunistic with it, and maybe just thought that there wasn't vision. So it is still going to be the Rift Herald going over to CFO. JunJia going to be able to pick up the eye. And now let's see whether they can get back on the horse, because that wasn't a great fight, but they still have a whole lot of control in a 3,000 gold lead.
Yeah, if you take a look at the top left, you see that turret's 4-1. I mean, there's not a whole lot to hit with the Rift Herald, so I'm curious to see how they're going to use it in this game, because they have such a massive map advantage.
Kaiwing's flank angle is kind of massive right now, as the Zenith Blade is going to try and push him away. The Weaver's Wall comes down, and they have their eye on the prize. The prize being Crisp, who is going to flash back towards JackeyLove, and now a teleport to come forward. Have they overstepped? That's the question. As Creme coming in, a teleport now as Rest just dives on top of the Yone. They push him away, but he does manage to use the ult to get himself out, and it's not enough. The empowered shock blast just destroys him.
That was such an opportunistic play from Creme, and I think you need to look for those types of angles in this game. You have a flanking Yone, CFO overextend, maybe you can make that work, but they weren't all on the same page. He was too disconnected, he was too cut off, and he gets punished. And I mean, JackeyLove's chunked down here. This is gonna be the Herald drop for Inner, and man, I couldn't really overstate how much map control that CFO have now, and that fourth Dragon that we've been touting as maybe this comeback mechanic here, it just feels so far away. 3 minutes until it spawns. In those 3 minutes, we're gonna have to see TES wrestle back some control here. I like how they split this up and isolate Crisp here, but it gives an opportunity for that teleport to come through. But it's seen, of course, by this ward, so they know he's TPing. They can back up here. They're like, okay, we'll isolate him. He avoids the shove, but then Rest matches the TP and locks him up, and he's just unable to get away. Because of this great empowered shock blast, if Kanavi blocks that, he probably lives there, but...
And it was so close. That was pixels for that kitty cat to be able to block it and keep his mid laner alive. Wasn't to be the case.
And Rest has really impressed me in this game. I mean, he's done a lot of what he's been doing this tournament, just winning the lane where he has the range advantage, But then when it comes to these team fights and these skirmishes, he's hitting the mark. He's utilizing that gold incredibly well, has hit his 2-item spike, has his Swifties, and he's running around the map fast, making big plays.
Well, Ebba Popes come through here as Crisp. Not a whole lot he can do about that one. True Shot Barrage cut him in half. And then just a couple more autos and some Mystic Shots, and Doggo is able to take him down. 2-item spike now definitely there, and it looks like CFO want to turn this into an Otacon take as well, which could spell the end of an inhibitor turret for TES here.
TP for 369, they're going to try to contest here, but it's just so hard. I mean, not impossible.
Yeah, Kaiwing standing on top of a ward, but doesn't seem to care about it at all. Actually, it was a trap, but that's fine. Was discovered. Spear going to connect as CFO. They are still on it, and there is no way for top esports to make their way in. CFO have been clinical with their control of this game. They grab the Voracious Otacon. There's the Weaver's Wall to split up the fight, but hongQ, he's on the northern side. I don't know about that one. He just withdraws, and sometimes you forget that the Voracious Otacon only means it's a couple of 100 gold, and then you can get back into the fight once again. Teleport available. He could come back immediately as Doggo is going insane underneath this turret. 369 trying to block, but Crisp is still going to be cut down. Now Creme gets knocked up. Kaiwing looking to try and push him out of there. As I don't know about this one. Still, we are just going to try and kill 369 before we go down. The withdraw comes through from Doggo. Kaiwing might be joining him now as JunJia going to slow them as much as he can. Headbutts the wall, and speaking of headbutts, Kaiwing is going to try and send them packing. hongQ, yeah, that was almost a spear as a welcome.
He wants to make sure he had to TP in here, because the timing of this gets a little bit awkward with those withdrawals coming through. If the Dragon's up a little bit faster, maybe TS just rush over and try to take it, but they will ultimately have to reset now. 15 seconds until that big win con we've been talking so much about, but it just doesn't seem likely they'll be able to take it. I mean, what are you going to do in these situations? It takes so long to get to the autocon. Now, hongQ here was a bit ambitious. Like, he can make plays like this because he has withdraw. The question is, should he? I think the answer is no.
And you still give money over to your opposition, things like that.
Watch Doggo here. He's just got so much damage, and Crisp is like, 369, please!
Yeah.
But it's not enough. And Crisp is looking more like Raggedy Ann than Leona in this game, but it's not because he's playing badly, and I better not see any comments.
Oh dear. Creme is dead, ladies and gentlemen.
Down he goes.
Thankfully, it wasn't a cast to curse because that was Creme and not Crisp.
Yeah.
So we're fine. It was the other side of the Crispy Creme combo.
I was just gonna say that when you're a Leona, where all your turrets are gone and you got to get vision somewhere, you're gonna die. You know, you're gonna get picked.
Yeah.
You're gonna get caught off these 4 deaths here, and CFO are looking to end this game.
Yeah, they're pushing forward. hongQ gonna grab himself a spear, but also gets the flash out from JackeyLove. True Shot Barrage takes him down to 100 health, and that is gonna spell the end of this inhibitor turret. CFO have been just a well-oiled machine for the entirety of this game. We have to remember back to the fact that this 17-year-old player gets cut down for first blood at 1 minute into this game. There are, you know, much more mature teams, you know, that have fallen apart after something like that happens in the early game. And CFO instead, they're just, no. Just business as usual, guys. Keep your heads in the game, and their heads have well and truly been in this game from minute 1.
Absolutely, and they snowballed the game well. They played some good macro. I mentioned some of the lane assignments they had, putting hongQ top, allowing Rest to defend that turret bottom side. It just feels like with Kanavi on this Nidalee, when they lost control, he's been able to do very little. Because he doesn't have CC, he can't catch anybody, can't trap anybody. It's very difficult for him to punish overextensions. And Creme here
does some damage.
Yeah, he does. And Creme just thinks he can be further away from that turret than he can at this game state and is punished hard for it. Baron wasn't up. Like, they got an inhibitor Baronless. It's up in 50 here, and now CFO are looking to clear out vision.
And add insult to injury, it's the bottom inhibitor as well. So it's the worst one to deal with if you are going to be trying to contest for Baron, as JunJia is going to be dashing forward, looking for Kanavi here. He will accept a Crisp as a consolation prize, as Deadly Flourish coming on through the knockup, and the delivery of Kanavi as they all dive in. The seismic shove defensively is gorgeous from hongQ, as he then flashes over. Creme's in trouble, he's flashing away. 369 on the other side of the fight, trying to duel against Rest and Doggo, and I think I know where the smart money's at when it comes to that battle. He is going to try and get himself out of there. Will be successful for now, but can they save their inhibitor turret in mid lane?
Yeah, they're just going to look for the Weaver's Wall to cut him off.
Yep, Jackie, I don't know whether he's going to be flashing away from that one. Cooldown not up yet, and the inhibitor is going to fall down once more. And CFO are taking no unnecessary risks.
None.
They are making sure that they're pulling top esports to where they need them and then playing these skirmishes gorgeously.
And they know that TES have to rush over to Baron here. They even thought for a moment about setting a trap. As we go back to this play here, I mean, look, you're trying to fight for vision. This is another one of those moments for Crisp I'm talking about where he and Kanavi have to group up here and try to clear vision towards the Baron to make sure that they can have a chance to contest it. And then they're just isolated and taken out here. This comp is so good at single target isolation. You set up a Sejuani ult or a shove, that one target is just suddenly going to be chain CC'd to death. And when you have these massive damage dealers in Doggo and Rest, whoever gets caught is just going to get blown up. JackeyLove is the next target here. He's isolated with this Weaver's Wall, shoved and deleted. That's the second inhibitor before Baron spawned, and CFO certainly have their eyes on it. As they haven't cleared that last ward here in the pit. But now they will.
It is going to go down now, but it gives away the fact that this Baron has been started up. Rest chilling in the mid lane as True Shot Barrage gives information over to CFO. Haven't taken the ward out yet, as the controller does go into the back of the pit. This cow, the secret agent, is now hongQ could be in a little bit of trouble. Glacial Prison going just wide as Kanavi is getting flanked. The cow comes in. There's the pulverize onto Crisp. Kanavi trying to pounce his way out of there. Crisp not going to have access to that ability, and so he's just dead. Once again, the 1v2 for 369 as he pulls hongQ away, and hongQ just goes golden. He should be A-okay here as Rest takes him out. Doggo is in a lot of trouble. Now just standing behind his teammates, making sure these curtains don't fall down on top of him, and CFO keep everyone alive. Rest now diving on top of Creme. Creme is maybe able to take this one as the captive audience not going to be killing Rest
This is
yet.
crazy greed from CFO, but because of Rest's heroic, almost near sacrifice there, they are going to look to try to rush this from down with low health bars. Kanavi could steal this.
Kaiwing should be able to get him out of this pit, as now JunJia is almost just dead.
I actually think this is the right call. Look, you've got 2 inhibitor advantage, everybody's low. And
if that spear hadn't have hit onto Kaiwing, you best believe they are committing to that one, because then he can just headbutt Kanavi away if he's in that brush. This two-man shove, though, a beautiful start to this fight.
And hongQ's so aware that this tanky front line can't threaten him, so he can actually just walk that far up as a Taliyah to look for these shoves. And it's just, again, flanked from Kaiwing. JackeyLove can't do anything. There's too many beefy targets in his face. And yes, they do end up doing a lot of damage here to the backline in the follow-up play. Doggo nearly dies, but they block for him. It prevents the Baron.
JunJia, like, taking care of his two bottom lane kids.
Yeah.
As this curtain call unable to actually get through Bristle.
I mean, they end up stopping the Baron, but it doesn't stop the other problems. And this is going to be a dragon taken here. The second for Flying Oyster is that Seoul felt so close and now feels so much further away.
JunJia looking for an opportunity here as Kaiwing once again with the perfect flank angle throws the ulti down to make sure he stays alive. And gets the two-man pulverized. Creme able to get himself out of there. Had unbound the Seoul as 369. He's not frontlining anymore. And Kanavi is the one caught out. This War Machine will just eat whatever's in front of them as hongQ looking for even more. Creme able to get himself just out of there. But they are limping back to the fountain right now. And this fresh inhibitor that only just came back to life is immediately put back in the dirt.
Yeah, down it goes. And CFO, they have got this one super minion here. They're trying to take out these Nexus turrets.
Yeah, 369 diving forward, but he's in the bouncy castle. The seismic shot was too good. He goes all out, but he is all out options. As now Creme back underneath this turret now, and top esports, they don't have the money, they don't have the way to get in, and CFO just too good here in this game one. Jackey gonna be taken out. Doggo is on an absolute rampage. It's a triple kill here, possibly even a quadra unless Rest just decides to take that one away. And there it goes. Nexus now exposed, and CFO. My God, what an incredible performance from this team. Kanavi might also be taken down, but instead, the Nexus falls, and CFO are up 1-0.
A Baronless win, and not one player on CFO did not look incredible that game.
Yeah.
All 5 players, it does not look like there is any angle of attack here. But unfortunately, once again for top esports, Kanavi not making the impact that he needed to on this Nidalee, even with that extra first blood gold. And for KC fans, you're feeling really good about your chances. And for Flying Oyster fans, you're thinking, this underdog story is over. This now is a dark horse team.
Yeah, no, exactly right. And if you have a look at the standings, right? CFO, they're 2-1. They're the only team that has this scoreline. They look absolutely incredible here in this game one. But have you heard? You can subscribe to all esports on Twitch now to support your favorite teams, use custom emotes, and go ad-free on Twitch. Regular subscribers are also rewarded with the Vi Have You Heard in-game emote, and you can spam that to support the Oysters and to support KC, because that is their way of getting into the playoffs here at First Stand. Time for us to go to a short break before we get back to the space, and then game number 2. We'll see you there.